So in 1.05, Voidbent incidentally got nerfed by them fixing the bug with resilience. So then, like I mentioned in another video, which I'll link somewhere in the description, about is Voidbent still worth it? And my opinion of that was basically for PvE, it's still good. And for PvP, it's still decent, but long-term, it's definitely not the best option at all long-term. In that video, I gave reasons and talked about all the different things and stuff. But later, I was doing some more research and digging through some of this stuff, and it turns out there's actually a really, really good alternative to Voidbent armor when it comes to PvP. So if you ever run the dungeons, you might have come across an item called Sticky Vines, or an item that I don't have in my inventory right now, which is Spectral Dust, I think. And those are from Lazarus and Genesis. Well, with those, you can craft something really, really interesting. So you go down all the way to here, and there's Dryad gear, and there's Guardian gear. So Dryad gear, for example, it works like a normal gear roll, where your gear score depends on your armoring. I can swap out things in order to get up to the 600 gear score potential. Now, I'd have to put my armoring gear on and stuff to show you 600 potential. You know, eat armoring food and all that. But you can do it like a normal roll, and the only difference is it's going to use additional material, which is, in this case, Sticky Vines. But unlike the normal stuff, this set is guaranteed con, just like the Voidbent armor is. And you're guaranteed one perk of your choice then, because since you don't need to put one of these on for the stats to control it, you can actually pick whatever you want. So if you want a luck set, and you want con, you're a tank, which is what Voidbent gives you too, then you could actually get a PvE set that has different things than resilient and the whatever. You can get resilient and invigorated, whatever it was called. I always forget the name of the other one. You can actually get a PvE set too, but for PvP, this is the way to go. Because then whatever your favorite perk is that you want, Leeching Cyclone, for example, you can no matter what have Leeching Cyclone. Throw on some Azoth, and then bam, you have your set. You're gonna get random rolls on the other two perks, assuming that you get both of them, but you're guaranteed the best perk that you possibly could want and the con. So when making PvP, suddenly the odds of getting all the perks that you want are so much higher. So whereas Voidbent is stuck with luck, your thing can have the thing of your choice, and then two other things that, with a few rolls, it's not very long until every single piece has two great PvP perks, and one of those being hand-selected by you. So this is honestly the hands-down best alternative to Voidbent armor. Honestly, if you're doing Voidbent armor just for PvP, it's not even an alternative. Voidbent is the alternative to this. But I hate to break it to you guys, there is a catch with this. There's a serious catch, okay, and you need to know this. This stuff is bind on pickup. So this goal can only be obtainable if you level up your armoring as well. So that is why it's going to be a little bit harder than getting Voidbent. But at the same time, think about this. You could spend 80,000 coins on some servers to get Voidbent armor, or you could spend, what, like 30, 40, 50,000 coins banging out silk gloves or something to get armoring 200. Or you only need 160, I think. Yeah, you only need 160 to make this, but you'll need 200 to actually get a chance at getting 600 gear score. So, you know, whichever way you want to make it. If you actually want the 600, you're going to have to go all the way. But you could spend that money that you would have spent on Voidbent to get your armoring up, which is a permanent thing that you'll always have then. And then you can just bang out some of these sets. And for close to the same cost as Voidbent armor, you can get PvP armor, if you're a tank, that is better than the tanky Voidbent set, and get armoring 200 at the same time for the same price tag, roughly. I mean, it's going to vary by server, cheaper, more expensive. It's going to be somewhere in the range, though. So you have to ask yourself, would you rather have a decent chance at a better PvP set and armoring 200, or would you rather have Voidbent armor? Now, also, there are light and medium equivalents of this. I'll show you that. So if you go over to the outfitting station, we have the same situation over there. If you scroll all the way down to here, we got Dryad set and Guardian set. But the stats are only going to work for a few specific classes. So just like the heavy armor, it's only going to work if you want con. So if you want to be tanky, you get the heavy one. Whereas for the light and the medium, let's see which one is this. This is the medium. The medium gives strength dex. So for strength dex, if you're not familiar, strength and dex will allow you to have sword and shield, a hatchet, or a spear. Those are the 3 that will combo with strength and dex. You'll get both those add to the damage of those weapons. So the medium's only going to work sword and shield, hatchet, or spear. But if you want to run medium with spear, hatchet, or sword and shield, then this is actually a great alternative for DPS. Now for the light armor, there's only really one class type that's going to fit it because it gives int and focus. So it's only for people who want to run a specific class, which is a life staff plus one of these 4 weapons. So like a 50-50 split between healer and mage, or 50-50 split between musket and healer. Alternatively, you could do the rapier, but I wouldn't want to run a rapier on light armor personally. Personally, I'd highly recommend either the musket or the mage if you're going to run this build. Now, it is a viable build. It's absolutely a viable build. So if that is your build, if you are one of those players, then suddenly these sets will work. And the Guardian set does the exact same thing, in case you were curious. I wasn't clicking on it. Maybe some people are like, what are the Guardian? What are the Guardian? Well, Guardian's going to give you the exact same stats. It's the exact same thing. But again, you need 160 armoring to make a set. With 160 armoring and super materials, I don't know the exact number, but if you have the armor set and all that, you'll be able to probably go like 590 or something. And then once you get to 200, you can go all the way to 600. And then once you have everything, you can go 595 to 600 rolls. But that's if you ever get to that point. So again, this is just a thing of, would you rather have a Voidbent set, or would you rather have armoring 200 and one of these sets, gear score like 581 all the way to 600? You know, like that's the question you gotta ask yourself. Now, if it was me, I highly recommend doing this. I would do this. If materials are cheap enough on your server that for the price of a Voidbent you can get armoring 200, then absolutely you're gonna do this. It's gonna cost you the same, and then you have. And here's one more thing that you really need to think about from this. The Voidbent's armor set, you got the Voidbent, you're done, right? And it's not ideal PvP. It's decent PvP, but it's not ideal. Whereas for this set, you get your armoring 200, and now you can just keep on crafting attempts at these sets for the rest of time until you get that perfect set that you want. Whereas with the Voidbent, you get the Voidbent, and you still need to go get your armoring to 200 to get the set that you want. Or you're going to have to pay people to craft the normal stuff. You're going to have to go find a 200 armor to have them just keep banging out Beast Hunter or, you know, infused leather or whatever until you get the exact thing that you want, which is going to be way harder on those because you can only control one thing at a time. It doesn't give you those stats guaranteed. But also, if you are not one of the classes that benefit from the exact stats that you get from these, then that's obviously your only other option other than Voidbent. But that was already your only other option other than Voidbent, so not much changes for you guys. But if you're one of those people where any of these stats work for you, just like the Voidbent would, although these stats are different than the Voidbent, it's actually better. This light armor is actually usable compared to the Voidbent, which gives strength for whatever reason. So that is the best alternative, hands down. Hands down, best alternative to Voidbent armor. I wouldn't even get Voidbent armor at this point compared to that. Now that resilience is nerfed, well, fixed, which nerfs it. There are a lot of people arguing on how I name that. It got fixed, which made it weaker, which makes me want to call it a nerf, but, you know, technically, maybe not a nerf. But if you have the crafting mods, honestly, even when Voidbent was OP, for PvP, this was still better than Voidbent, assuming you could get a hold of the chunks of consecrated iron, because you could just put resilience on the Dryad set. And then, bam, you have Dryad set that has resilience, con, and 2 random perks instead of resilience, invigorated, and luck. So honestly, you would have had better odds at any point. Even when it was OP, you would have had better odds of getting the set that you want by doing the Dryad armor or the Guardian armor. Now, you guys do whatever you want, whichever you want to do it, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of this armor, how good it is, and which classes it will benefit. So if you are one of those classes, I would highly recommend, but that's my opinion. If you were coming to me and you were asking me what you should do, this is what I would tell you to do. I would tell you to just go ahead and spend that same money leveling up your armoring and make your own Dryad set. And then at the same time, you have armoring 200 now, and you're that much further to having a completed character 100%ing the game. But now you know the best alternative to Voidbent armor. Honestly, better than Voidbent armor in my opinion. And hopefully that'll help you out to make your choice on what to do about your endgame armor in New World.